Me on today's edition of the program You're in Your Health and on Equinoxe Radio Multimedia. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. There is a lot to consider when preparing to become a mother. Though your body naturally prepares for labor on its own, there are some few tips you need to consider when preparing for this process. And that is what we are going to be explaining in the course of this program. But that will be after the short break. Welcome back. Welcome back. With me in the studio is a nurse and midwife. He's called Akumburena Vega. It is a pleasure having you on the program today.
Thank you, Madam Fogwe.
Last time when you were on the program, we discussed on pregnancy, and we call it discuss on pregnancy, focusing on women who are asthmatic. This time around, we are looking at how to control labor and how to tell someone it's in labor. That's what we are going to be focusing today.
Okay, thank you.
So let's now discuss. Tell us, how can a woman know she is in labor?
There are a number of things for a woman to know that she's in labor, and some of those things have been explained to them during the antenatal visit, and some of them are very common that people usually say them out, and even their peer group or their parents do tell them before they become pregnant. We have the first thing that you, as a woman, you need to take care of. You will see what we call show. Show is a mucus-like substance which is actually a seal that is sealing the cervix, which is the entrance to the uterus. It might fall off and is sometimes mixed with some patchy bloody substance. That's the first sign, which shows that labor is about to or labor is approaching. And then we might have contractions. Contractions, when we talk about contractions, and to really indicate that you are in labor, you need to have contractions that are becoming so frequent, they are becoming so intense, and then the duration is longer than 30 seconds and above. That to say that within 10 minutes you're supposed to have at least 2, 3 or more contractions within 10 minutes before you can say now that truly I am in labor. And then for some people, it might start with rupture of membranes. It means that the amniotic fluid gush out of the woman. That's to see that you are in labor. But with this one particularly, you need to be skeptical because it also poses you to danger. And I would not like to talk about danger now because I want to explain some danger facts that actually even when you're in labor, you need to watch over them. So, and then we also have lower abdominal pain that is radiating to your back. Most women will tell you, I'm feeling some pain under my abdomen and it's cutting across my waist to my back. That's how some people feel it. Some people might not really witness contraction, but they will feel this pain. And then for some, you actually feel the urge to stool. You go to the toilet, so frequent to stool or to urinate, nothing comes out. That's a sign to show that you are also in labor. So you need to watch out and know that these signs might not come the same for everybody, and they might not come all these signs for everybody, but just one sign can show up for somebody, and labor and delivery is imminent. So you need to watch out.
So now let's talk about maybe a doctor gave a woman, a pregnant woman, he told the pregnant woman that maybe in a week's time you'll be giving birth, and suddenly, let's say, less than 2 days, can there be a situation where she's in labor, even after being told it's in a week time?
Yes, of course. Nurses, midwives, and doctors are not God. Yes, but it is estimated from your last normal menstrual cycle, from the first day of the last normal menstrual cycle that you had, that labor is supposed to start anytime from the 37 complete weeks of pregnancy to up to about 40 weeks and more. That is the estimated time you're supposed to fall in labor. Any time less than this time is called pre-labor or premature labor. But considering the fact that the baby is at term from 37 weeks, labor can start anytime from 37 weeks. So if your midwife or your health personnel tells you you'll be delivering this day, that's misinformation. Yes, we give you an estimated time that we expect that labor need to begin.
Yeah.
And then that is the best moment for you to prepare your things and make them ready, so that as soon as labor is taking place, you just ferry to the hospital.
Talking about preparing your things, when is the right time to head to the hospital?
Actually, if you are somebody who have delivered before, you know your system. But notwithstanding, the best time to know to head to the hospital is when labor have fully established, and that your midwife will explain to you more better in the course of the antenatal visit. Firstly, I talked about regular contractions. Because no woman can deliver without contractions, that is the first sign to show that you are in labor. You have contractions that are becoming intense, and they are becoming longer, and they come so frequent. Yes, that's the first thing to tell you that this is labor. The urge to stool. Some people start feeling the urge to stool, the urge to stool, the urge to stool. By the time they start having contractions, that is the baby out. So if you have the urge to stool, also need to go to the hospital, not regardless the fact that you're not having contractions. And then at any point you see a gouge of water come out from your vagina, you need to go straight to the hospital.
Okay.
Even if the pregnancy is not at term, or actually it is a sign of labor, go to the hospital. Yeah.
Okay.
You have to go to the hospital.
So now, what are some red flags to watch out whenever, as far as when the woman is pregnant?
When a woman is pregnant, it's a very delicate period for her life first and for the life of her baby. So you need to watch out, monitor your own self and monitor your baby. Firstly, for the woman herself, there are a lot of hormonal changes that actually make interplay with her, and she can feel tired and feeble most of the time. But it's very, very good to watch out for those things that are not related to this pregnancy or are even related to be dangerous. Firstly, at any point in pregnancy, even from day one to the last day, anything related to vaginal bleeding, whether you know the cause or you doesn't know the cause, whether it is painful or it's not painful, at any point in pregnancy, if you see blood, you need to head straight to the hospital. It's an obstetric emergency. Secondly, I talked about water. A woman losing amniotic fluid, or per se people will say rupture of membrane or leakage of the amniotic fluid, you need to also go to the hospital. For the woman herself, if she has persistent high blood pressures, is another factor that is very eminent and dangerous to her life. She needs to head to the hospital. If at any point in time she's be feeling so feverish, weak and tired that she can't even wake up from bed, she needs to go to the hospital. Or at any point in time she starts seeing she cannot appreciate colors, she see blur vision, she also needs to go to the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, is there a possibility for a pregnant woman to menstruate?
No, there's no possibility. But women can see blood during pregnancy, and there are some confirmed cases that your doctor or your midwife need to tell you you might be seeing some spots of blood with time. That is basically for women who have malplacentation, for people whose placenta have not embedded in the upper quadrant of the uterine wall. If the placenta is embedded in the lower segment of the uterus, and especially those placentas that are close to the cervix or completely covering the cervix, from time to time you have some spots of blood.
Okay.
And that is not menses.
Okay. And now, during labor, Can a woman be allowed to eat if she says she's hungry or maybe thirsty? Is there a possibility for her to give in some food to eat at that moment?
Let me first of all laugh because these have once be a point of contradiction, and we still have a lot of medical personnel who still do this thing, and then not to talk of our African belief. But I want to make it very clear here that when you are in labor, you need to eat and take in fluid regularly.
Okay.
First of all, when you don't eat, you become exhausted. Labor is very painful, and you need pain. You need some strength to be able to withstand the labor process and the contractions. Secondly, you need energy to be able to push out your baby. So it's only through eating and drinking that you have some reserved energy to do so. And then not forgetting the fact that when you are in labor, your baby is also stressed from the contractions that keep pressing the baby.
Yeah.
The baby will get tired if you are not eating. So you need to eat. But notwithstanding, I usually advise most women to eat in the latent phase of labor, because when labor has progressed to the active phase, most women, when they eat at that time, they throw off. So it's better to eat at the early stage of labor and eat as tolerated, but don't lose track of taking it much fruit. Yes.
And how long does it take to push out a baby?
It depends. It depends.
Okay.
But science have shown and is recommended that if when the woman have fully dilated, when they say the woman cervix is fully open for the baby to come out, we expect that within 30 minutes to a maximum time of an hour, the baby should be out.
30 minutes to an hour?
Yes, but some women can take even less than 7 minutes and the baby is out.
Okay, so it depends on the woman in question.
It depends on the woman, the presentation of the baby, and the size of the baby as well. Yes.
Talking about the size, why is it that the size of some babies are really, really big compared to other women? Is it the food, the diet? Does it play a role?
Some people, diet really have a lot to do for the size of baby, and the genetical factors is a gene as well. You don't expect a huge bouncing father and a gigantic mother to give birth to a Mboro type of baby. No. So gene has a lot to play. Feeding habit have a lot to play. And then some medical conditions like diabetes, yes, can also interfere with the size of the baby. Yeah.
Now, is there a specific way of pushing the baby out, or you just sit and it comes out, or there's a specific technique a pregnant woman is supposed to use? Because I guess a lot of them currently watching the program at the moment.
Yeah. Your midwife is the one to give you the command. Push, madam. Hold on. Breathe. And when we talk about a woman being compliant in labor, the success story is usually very good. When your midwife gives you command and you follow, things move on smoothly. You are less stressed, the midwife is less stressed, the baby is less stressed, and complications are minimal. So the specific way of pushing is this. When the midwife have announced to you that, madam, this is the time to push, the midwife instructs you to push with contractions, because what contractions does is this. The contractions are concentrated more in the frontal part of the uterus. In that light, when you have contraction, it squeezes up. When it squeezes up and gives some pressure, and you push with that force, there is more progress in the descent of the baby. But when you just push at any point in time, you are not getting any effort, but instead you are losing energy. Concentrate your energy and push when you have contractions, and listen to your midwife's instructions. Because when you are pushing, the midwife is there monitoring and also controlling. That is the reason why some people might have a terrible vagina, cervical, or perineal tear during delivery. So it's good to follow instructions and push as per your midwife's command. That's the best thing to do.
Talking about the tear, why do some women have more stitches than others? Is it only because of that? The way they push the baby out?
There are a lot of factors to consider and to look upon when somebody actually have a tear. I first of all mentioned that we have cervical tears, we have vaginal wall tears, and then we have the perineal area tear. Firstly, somebody might have a cervical tear if at any point in time the cervix was not fully dilated and the woman forcefully pushed out of pain or frustration. The cervix might tear. The vaginal wall or the perineal tear might come from the fact that the baby is malpresenting, maybe presenting in a compound presentation. When we say compound, it means the baby is presenting both with the hands like this on the face. Or the baby might be presenting face to pubis. Instead for the baby's head to be facing down and present with the occiput, the baby is presenting with face up, or what we call face to pubis. Is another precipitating factor. The size of the baby might be so fat. The baby might be so fat that it might not only tear the mother, but it might need that the midwife should give a tear himself to be able to control. Yes. And then, thirdly, if the woman is not compliant, if they say, Madam, wait, or push now, if she's not compliant, she is prone to have a very big tear, because what the midwife does is the midwife controls and delivers and support the perineal area to deliver the baby's head and the baby's shoulders. And mind you, it will be interesting to know that the highest thing that gives tears to women are the baby's head and their shoulders. If the head is out and their shoulders, you hardly might not have a tear. So at this point, the midwife tell you, wait, breathe, so that the midwife can carefully delivers the head gently, and then with the shoulders, and then you can push the rest of the baby out. Yes, and then another thing that pre-exposes women to tear is the technique of the midwife. If the midwife is not competent, or at some point negligent, or being distracted by the woman's behavior, you might also have a tear.
And now, why is a C-section recommended for some pregnant women?
There are a lot of reasons why C-sections are recommended for pregnant women, and I would like to classify them in three. Firstly, we have women who are indicated even before they become pregnant that delivery will not be imminent, so they will need to go in for an elective cesarean section. But there are some factors that will be identified during the antenatal period, and the woman will still be planned for elective cesarean section, or the woman will try labor, and if it doesn't go, and then they will take her for cesarean section. But there are some factors that will come in when the woman is already in labor, and those factors, we consider them emergency, so we will not want to wait. Firstly, for women who are still aspiring to conceive and that might not deliver vaginally are women who have a deformity in their pelvis. The pelvis is the pathway from the uterus to the outside, and that is where the baby will pass. And if there is a deformation there, the baby will not pass. So that one, you need to put that one in your agenda before even conception. And then for some women that have some medical conditions that cannot tolerate labor.
Example?
We might have people with cardiac problems. You might have some women with cardiac problems that their cardiologists have actually indicated that they will not need stress because labor is stressful. So during the antenatal period, you really identify there are some women who have once had cesarean section twice. That is an absolute indication for a cesarean section. You cannot try labor. And then there are some women who maybe have some medical condition. For example, we have women who might have vaginal condyloma. We commonly call it vaginal warts. We might not want them to deliver vaginally because first, it pre-exposes the baby to ophthalmological problems post-delivery, so we might not want them to try to venture a vaginal delivery. And then secondly, for those ones that are chronic, a small tear there will bleed for heaven. So you will not want to...
That situation to occur, yeah.
Yeah. And then during the antenatal visit, you might also see that the placenta is malpresenting. I first of all mentioned that we have placentas that are supposed to be situated at the upper uterine segment, but they situate in the lower uterine segment, and some are even partially closing the cervix or completely closing the cervix. And the cervix is the passageway from the uterus to the vagina and outside. And on a normal delivery, the baby is supposed to be delivered first before the placenta. And if the placenta is first, it means that the placenta will come out first before even the baby is delivered. That means you lost your baby. And with malplacentations, is usually accompanied with profuse and uncontrolled bleeding. So you will not want to take that risk. Yeah. And then during antenatal visit, when you do an echography for your woman and you see that she have multiple uterine fibroids, you might don't want her to deliver vaginally, because this fibroid, even a small tear, they might bleed very, very well. So you don't want her to also deliver vaginally. And then there are some medical conditions that the doctor will decide that no, this woman should not deliver vaginally. These factors are identified in the antenatal period. But intrapartum, or what we actually know as during labor, there are some factors that will tell you this woman should not give birth vaginally. Yeah. She might be in labor and start having bleeding of unknown etiology. That is an obstetric emergency. She needs to be operated upon immediately. And if the baby becomes tired, or we call it fetal distress, that's another imminent factor to take her for operation immediately. The woman might become so weak and feeble that she cannot stand herself, talk less of supporting the labor or pushing out the baby. You need to also operate. Yeah. Okay. And then the woman might become feverish. Yeah, you can really not see what is causing her to be to have fevers
at that moment.
Yeah. And excessive increase in blood pressures as well. You will not want to keep her for normal vaginal delivery.
We're left some few minutes, I think 2 minutes, as our technician said, but we would like to take some major questions. What's the normal recovery time for a woman who had a vaginal birth and another who had a C-section?
All time, I'll just give a general recovery time for both of them. Some people believe that when you've been operated upon, there's some strings attached to it. No. As far as you've delivered, whether vaginally or through cesarean section, you have up to 6 weeks to regain yourself and resume your normal life.
Okay.
Yes, up to 6 weeks. Within these 6 weeks, there are a lot of things that you need to put in place. First, you need to eat well and have rest. Take good care of yourself, both hygienic-wise, health-wise, and others. Have good exercise, not sport. And have rest for yourself. That's the most important thing. Yes. And then don't involve in sexual activities until after 6 weeks.
Until after 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So now, how does an expectant mother prepare for the coming of her baby?
There are a lot of things to put in place. But firstly, I want to group them into 4. You need to have social preparation. You need to have financial preparation. You have to have emotional preparation as well. First, before you prepare these things, you need time. And that time...
2 seconds? Yeah.
Yes. This time you need to seek from your work area. If you're a civil servant, have your documents prepared so that you will duly be planned for your maternal leave. Within this time, you have to prepare finances to pay your bills. You also need the material that your health personnel had discussed with you, that this is the things they will need to use.
Okay.
And then secondly, you need somebody to accompany you or your caregiver to the hospital, and you need a means of transport. You should not be caught in between the way looking for a bike at midnight. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I guess we'll look for another time for us to detailedly discuss on this topic. And that was a nurse and midwife, Akumbu Reina Vega. He works at the Bingo Baptist Hospital. And that's all we had for you on today's edition of the program You and Your Health Ed on Équinoxe Radio Multimedia. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe, and I received technical assistance from my 5-star technician, Rafael Dipanda. Have a lovely day.
Équinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.
If you suspect